With over 20 years experience in the technology field, serving Fortune 500 and small companies alike, he holds 2 degrees and multiple certifications.
Cybersecurity expert
Will Nobles.
Boy, has he had success in his life.
Since I've started my company, I've dedicated myself in helping my clients protect the integrity of their data.
The CEO of Vector Choice Technology Solutions. Please welcome Mr. Will Nobles.
People don't get risk that's out there. Don't be careless with your technology. Your employees are your #1 security risk that you have.
Someone clicks on a link, spreads across the network, and encrypts the data on that network.
When we're sitting down with a client for the first time, one of the things we're looking at is what are they doing today to protect themselves against cyber attacks?
Just because you're a small firm or you don't have a lot of money, don't think that someone's not trying to hack you. Everybody is vulnerable.
Go into the dark web, look and see of your employees what passwords are out there.
What we do is partner humanity with technology.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining today. Look forward to a great webinar. This is one of the second one this week. Yes, it is already Wednesday. I cannot believe it. We have a special guest with us today and also one of my engineers. And today we're going to be talking about antivirus and what types of antivirus is out there for businesses, also home use for your home computers, and really what antivirus really does for you. Now, again, a little bit about myself. I've read this several times, so I'm not going to read it. And so what I just started doing last week is giving a little tidbit about myself and who I am. And I will say that my first speaking gig was in high school. My senior year, I was the president of the FFA, yes, the Future Farmers of America. So I wanted to share a little tidbit about myself. Again, a little bit about me. The agenda today is who's Vector, just recapping who we are and what we're doing for new people joining, and then also the past webinars, our special guests, and then we're going to be diving into antivirus and then any Q&A. If you guys have questions throughout the webinar, please put in the Q&A. Facebook, please put it in the chat. We're monitoring both. Logan will step in and ask the question for you, and then we'll get that answer for you as well. Again, Vector, we have 4 offices in the United States, all on the East Coast right now. We service clients all over the country, plus several other countries as well. And we do a lot of with compliancy. So if you need any help with that, we can help you in those ways. Also, service offering, I just wanted to throw that up real fast. You know, we are going to be talking about sort of the managed services, but more antivirus today, but on the managed services, all these services that we're talking about. Now, remember, this call is not a sales call for Vector Choice. We are not trying to sell you anything on this call. We're just trying to educate in the time that we're all staying home and staying safe. If you want to learn more about the past webinars, and we talk about video conferencing etiquette, to how to use Zoom, Teams, Office 365, VoIP systems, all of that stuff is helping you work from home. You can go to vectorchoice.com/work-from-home and you can look at the past webinars. This webinar will be uploaded within the next 24 hours and we will be covering that. So our special guest today, David Shavson, the value track. So David, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Will. Thanks for having me on. Love to participate.
So how's and guys, I'm gonna take this the slide down. I'm gonna put it back up at the end of David so we can actually see full video of David's video. And Eric, I'm gonna turn your video off for right now, so it'll just be me and David. But David, how's working from home and life treating you right now?
How many hours do you have, Will? It's all good for me personally. I do a lot of work from home, always have. So I wouldn't say minor adjustment, but not too bad. Eyes glued to Zoom. Seems like 24/7.
Yeah. So David, you're a business consultant, business advisor, exit strategy person. So tell me, how do you help your clients on a day-to-day basis?
Day-to-day, and we're trying to keep the day-to-day going, and we can come back to that, but it's really just helping them work on their business, build value is really the focus, core of it. So at some point, as we always say, everybody's going to exit their business one way or the other, whether they're just a few years into it or a few years away from exiting. We really start, start with trying to help them sell the business, and we find most are not ready. And so we really try to get them to focus on value in terms of what a third party might pay for it.
Yep. Now, what's the most common thing that you're seeing, that you see that people, hey, I want to sell my company and I want to put it up for sale tomorrow. What is the most common, maybe one or three things that you see people that are not prepared to do that?
Yeah, so many things again, but one of the key things, unfortunately, is either having no idea what their company's worth, and sometimes it's worse when they have an idea that is, frankly, just not right. We created our businesses, we put so much into it, and we think they're worth so much, and so we typically come in very early on to do an estimate of value for them, and too often they're disappointed, but they just haven't been focusing on what value really is.
Yeah.
That's
When does someone should, a business owner, when should they start working on their exit strategy?
Yesterday, and the other answer is when they started their business. And I say that seriously. If you think about it, exit strategy is just that long-term goal. And so if we start right from the beginning and just building the business, the right way, if you will, just good business infrastructure, but all along the way, understanding that every decision impacts value to the negative or the positive. So if you haven't started yet, but just get going.
Now.
Start
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what, really, I have always had that in mind is, a lot of people think the owner wants to shove everything down to their employees so they don't have to do anything. And I don't think, to me, it's making sure that if something happened to me, Vector Choice survives and carries on without me. And so I've always built it in the mind of able to exit regardless if it's my exit, my wanting to exit or not. So I do hear a lot of people say, they wait until the last minute. They're just frustrated. They're like, you know what, I'm old, I'm tired, I'm ready just to sell it. And then, oh crap, I haven't done any of these things. The company is really not worth much if I'm not here. So I hear that quite a bit.
Yeah, we do. The oh crap, as you say, is out there a lot. And you phrased it, shoving things down. But it's it's necessary in the right way, of course. Delegating, making sure everybody knows what's going on. It's not that you are made completely irrelevant right away, but frankly, that's one of the first things we say, and one of the toughest things for a lot of the business owners to really grasp is that the best thing you can do is make yourself irrelevant. Can you go away for 6 months, come back and your business is thriving? You've got a sellable, attractive business. Yeah.
Well, I'm not quite there yet. I have gone on vacation for about a week and them not having to reach out to me. So that's the start.
No, that's great. It is really.
That is the start. So what are you seeing people doing adjustments in their business with the COVID-19? And obviously this is one reason I'm doing these webinars and stuff. What are you seeing business adjust to the situation?
Yeah, and we're seeing great things. And I always start out, I've been talking obviously a lot like this. I always start out saying, look, for some businesses, it's just devastating. They've got to look at cash. They've got to work on these loans. They've got to deal with their employees, making decisions about furloughing and all of that. That has to happen, but not to let go of the basics. So coming back and really doing the strategic planning like we ought to do anyway. It's just now with some more difficult data points to integrate into that plan. It just is what it is. So a lot of what we talk about is, all right, let's just sit down. Let's see, we're all going to get through this. How do we do things and adjust now that'll help us survive, preserve value, but also plan on building value coming out of it? And frankly, being quote unquote forced into some things now are really producing pretty cool ideas, right? So you want to always be creative in building your strategy. You always want to be thinking ahead anyway. And now we're being forced in some sense, which is producing a lot of opportunities. So I'll just give you a quick couple of examples just in my world. I've got a client that has a fitness studio. Obviously, those are shut down right now. And so they started
until Monday.
All right, I won't go there. We'll do another.
I won't be going, but yes.
We'll do another show on that alone. But yeah, so they're shut down, and so started, which was brilliant, right? How do we stay engaged? So they started streaming tips, doing a half-hour streaming segment, and then realized quickly, well, why don't we do this more regularly? Created a product, and now they've got a subscription for folks to tune in by streaming. And what they've done is created this, forced into, if you will, this creative avenue. And they're going to come out of this where this is going to be a new product line, a new revenue stream from here on out.
Yep.
So that's a great example for me.
It is. And I've seen a lot of companies pivot, saying, okay, I'm not making money here, but you know what, this idea right here, I can get that to market. I've got one client that they started making face shields and manufacturing face shields now. And so they pivoted total. I mean, it's somewhat in their marketplace, but it is a pivot that they did pretty quickly. And I'm seeing a lot of companies do that for sure. So when we talk about exit, a lot of people think, well, I'm never going to sell. I'm going to give it to my kids. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm invincible. What is where do they start? Where do they start on the exit planning process?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's really sitting down. Some of it is like you were talking about in your business, where we're educating our clients, these business owners who may not have sold before, right? They may have had these businesses for 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 years. And like I say, I say it somewhat tongue in cheek earlier, we all will exit our business at some point. And so just having conversation about what are their long-term plans? Do they really want to be doing this literally forever until they, maybe they're working and literally that's the day they drop and they're done. But even in that case, like you were saying, the business, typically when we ask, they want the business to survive, right? Survive them. And so we just start talking about whatever their vision is, and it may be working forever, or it may be selling in 20 years, or it may be transferring to kids. But no matter what, the bottom line is still that they have to not just maintain the company, but build it and grow it and make it more valuable. And in any of those circumstances, the goals are a little bit different and the decision points may be different. I'll pick up on one other thing real quick that you said about, giving it to the kids. We hear that a lot. It's not giving. And so there still is going to be a transaction. And so there still is a lot to be worked out. So we're not saying when we talk about quote unquote exit planning, you have to leave tomorrow or you're going to drop dead in a week, but you're gone. You need to plan for everybody, your employees, their families, your kids, all of it. So sort of like a trust and a will on your personal side. Have something in place. Exactly. Last quick thing is also upfront understanding value. That is key. Just figure it out. Get some help. Understand where you are today, so and that's a huge platform.
Yep. Yeah. Going back to your point about companies pivoting, companies changing their direction, and I think my opinion on this is a lot of companies didn't realize that their employees can work from home efficiently, productive, and I think that's going to change to me. And again, this is off topic, but I think it's going to change the real estate market, the commercial real estate market, because people are going to say, you know what? Besides spending all that money on office space, I'm just going to let people work from home. We've been doing that for 4.5 years. We have 4 offices that are Regis Suite offices that we can go to, we can meet at. We have the shipments to go, all our mail goes there and everything. But, Atlanta, with Atlanta traffic and DC traffic, I'm saving, the money of them driving, right? And their time, where they're saving their money with driving and their time driving. What I'm seeing and what I've seen over the past 4.5 years is my employees will come to work at 7:30 besides starting at 8 o'clock or being late and being here at 8:15. And then they work later. So I'm sure a lot of companies are seeing that. Now there's a fine line of getting burned out, right? Because there's some employees that will work, and because they have their computers and everything, they're going to work until 9, 10 o'clock at night. So you have to balance that burnout, and make sure employees don't get burned out. But I saw that I got more out of my employees by working from home, and that there's and I think I've talked about this in past webinars, is really monitoring their KPIs and you know, and pivoting. You know, if you had KPIs before for each employee, you have to pivot a little bit different and monitor a little bit different their activities and stuff, because not every employee is going to be the best employee working from home, for sure. So, but I see that changing as well in the business world.
Yeah, it is, you know, and I think that has been around for a long time to some degree. This is definitely going to accelerate it. You know, the monitoring and making sure people are doing what they need to be doing is key. But otherwise, like you say, it's extraordinary time saved.
Yep.
Gasoline, miles, wear and tear, you name it. It just permeates through everything. Yeah.
Especially when you have to sit in Atlanta traffic.
Yes. Yeah, and for me, it's this is one of the things when we start to get to the sort of the personal side of things I've been trying to get across to folks. You know, you had all this drive time during the week, right?
Yep.
So now you've got those hours back to do different things, especially in the crisis. But take a couple of those hours in a week and just go for a walk, you know, clear your head. Yeah, because that's the downside. You can now people kind of use all those hours glued to Zoom, and it's not a good thing necessarily either.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I feel like this is all I'm doing all day long, which is great because I get to see everybody's faces. But it's talking to a monitor all day. It seems kind of weird until you get used to it.
It is, and it really impacts. We've done strategy sessions with clients, which, you know, for me has always been consultant. I want the flip chart and markers, and we're all in a room running around. And so we've adapted. But you do 3 or 4 hours on screen, your eyes they're starting to hurt.
Yep, absolutely. So how are you managing, you know, in a business consulting aspect, how are you managing the expectations of clients and sort of what's reality now? Is it a good time to exit a company right now, or is it, you know, wait 6 months to a year before you try to exit?
So here's the thing. That's a great question. And I think what I'm really trying to get across is, let's start talking, let's start working. Don't assume that now you've got to delay. If you were trying to get out in 2 years, you have to wait 5 years, right? I mean, every situation is different, every company is different, every industry, but you know, it's kind of, for me, the tough love, all right? Yeah, this is horrible. Now let's get to work. And like I say, we talked a moment ago about some companies that are pivoting and doing some really good things. And it's not necessarily the case that we're going to come out of this, or a particular company is going to come out of this in very bad shape, frankly. The other thing I will say real quick, when you're looking at selling, everyone is adapting, right? So buyers know what's happened. It's not like they know you didn't run the company into the ground this year. They know COVID-19 happened. And so there's going to be a lot of adjustment, but there is activity. Again, most importantly though, plan it out, work at it, figure out how you're going to go to market, build value as much as you can, you know, have a game plan. But yeah, just don't cower in the corner, right? There's a lot really to do to prepare to come out. So I'm working with my clients and saying, let's stay on the timeline we had, you know, and see what happens. You know, now they may get a little bit less money, they just may. But as you get into the baby boomers who are older, just can't spend another 5 years, we'll come up with a game plan.
Sure. So if a company got hit really hard, and you're advising them how to rebuild their business after this is all over with. And because, you know, I've heard people lose 30-60% of their clientele. Obviously restaurants, travel agencies have gotten killed. But, you know, and I think restaurants are going to come back. People are going to start traveling again. But the other types of businesses out there that you're advising, how do you advise them to rebuild after this is all over with?
It's a good question. I actually have one of those, a client whose entire business served large gatherings, put it that way, without getting into, you know, what it is. So business period's gone. And again, each one is going to be different, but it starts back with, all right, you know, what is your timeline? You know, if you've got 5 or 10 years, you're not rushing out. All right, we've got time to rebuild. How do we do that? You know, is it something that we'll simply rebuild? Are there other creative ways to add services, add products, add lines, you know, use the word pivot that we're all using these days. So I would say it's just don't blindly move forward as you have been, and think about it and be open to advice. You know, if you've got people around you, whether it's your CPA and attorney and those folks, or whether it's you know, a consultant or coach like myself that you've been working with, is you bring in all the ideas you can. You know, again, it's industry by industry, but short of them being devastated, financially, right? I think everybody can come back, and I hate for these businesses. I mean, I've been doing this 20 years. I just hate for them to just give up, it's taken a step back, saying where we are, how do we make it through the next 6 months, right? And what do we plan ahead for in 2021 and make it happen.
Make it up. Yep.
Sorry. Yeah.
So any other advice, if someone is, if you're giving business consulting advice today, any other advice that you can give before we wrap this part up?
There's so much, but I would say two things is, again, we've touched on it, is think about your business, think about where you want to be. If you're going to be getting out of it, then get back to basics and set out a date and a target. And the other thing, like I mentioned, is to get an understanding of what it's worth today so you know how to make decisions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. Well, David, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm going to put I got David's information back up on the screen. If you would like to reach out to him, he can help you. His information will also go on the website. If you don't get it from here, it'll go on the website. If you want to reach out to David for any business consulting, advising, or if you're looking at creating an exit strategy, and if you're a business owner and don't have one today, I would highly suggest talking with him and getting one in place. David, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm going to switch over to Eric now. Thank you so much. All right, guys. So we're going to be talking about. So Eric, I'm going to take you off of mute and go ahead and bring you back in. If you can turn your camera on and everything.
There we go.
All right. Well, Eric, thank you so much. Some of you guys might not, if you're one of my clients, you might not have worked with Eric. He is newer to the company. I think he's been here maybe about a month now, not even. And so he's one of my senior engineers, and we're going to be talking today about antivirus. What really antivirus is, and what to use it for, and where does it play its place in security stack. So Eric, what does antivirus really do for a computer?
So when you have the term, everybody's heard the term malware. Virus is a type of malware. It's malicious software that can harm your computer, essentially. An antivirus program has a database of these viruses that are out there and can recognize them when they are on your computer and fight them and stop them from damaging anything internally, essentially. And so that's what really, even the free antivirus, I think about it as a firefighter. If a virus comes onto your computer, the antivirus will recognize it before it does any damage, and it'll stop it.
Yep. And so real quick, everyone, if you have a question, you can definitely, for me or Eric on this topic, you can definitely put in the Q&A, or Facebook, you can put in the chat, and we'll get to you on that. So you talk, and I'm going to bounce around this since you brought it up, but free software, free antivirus. I think free's free, right? You get what you pay for, and if you could go buy a Mercedes, or you could go buy a Toyota, and you're going to get a different result. And if you have a 20-year-old car versus a brand new car, you're going to have a different result. Free. What are the free softwares out there, and do you recommend free software for antivirus?
So there are a few that I've recommended for years. Off the top of my head, one would be Bitdefender. It's been around for a long time. AVG Free has been around for a long time. It's been pretty solid, the free version. And same thing with Total AV. All of those have the free version that get the job done. They have their own definitions, their own database of antivirus that they do talk to, and they do a good job. Each one of those also has the paid for version that you can get a little bit more out of it. But those three, again, Total AV, AVG Free, and Bitdefender are the ones I've used for years. And they're free, easy download, lightweight program, and it's better than having nothing, for sure.
Yep, and I've used, especially like my mother's or family members for home computers and stuff. I've used AVG Free quite a bit. Now, and just to add on to that, on the free piece, where businesses don't want to do free antivirus, and Eric, feel free to jump in there if you like. there's no way to centralize, manage, and control antivirus for a company, especially when you've got laptops and you've got different people using it. There's no central way for your IT department to manage that. And then also, you obviously, you do not supposed to use free anything, unfortunately, inside of a business. And in their terms and conditions, even with AVG, it tells you what you can use it for or not. So let's talk about home versus business antivirus. So we talked about, what the ones that you named off are really good for home computers. But we use Cylance inside our business for our clients. Cylance antivirus is what's considered a second generation antivirus. But where do you draw the line between a home computer versus a business computer when it comes to what you would recommend?
So the kind of going step back a little bit of the kind of traditional antivirus versus the next gen. The traditional antivirus, I like to use the analogy again. You have a firefighter versus a fire marshal, whereas an antivirus, traditionally, the virus comes in, antivirus attacks it and quarantines it, versus a next gen where it kind of does kind of a machine algorithm based on your machine specifically and can recognize either the weaknesses or recognize the your potential avenues of obtaining a virus or malware. And so the free version of that is a little lighter weight. It's home use. It's meant for the standard home use. You're not on your computer 8 hours a day. Versus a business, you need a little more power, a little more control, since you have people sitting there all day long on a computer. You're using it for 8 hours a day. You need to be able to manage it. And actually, Cylance is it was the innovator. It's considered the innovator of all the second gen antiviruses out there. It kind of was the leading programs that did the algorithms and came up with the machine learning and the kind of artificial intelligence when it comes to the antivirus. And so,
okay, so and then he touched on the second generation, and guys, when you talk about first generation, you're talking about AVG, you're talking about the antiviruses has been around forever. The problem is with antivirus, and so many people say, well, you have antivirus on the machine. How did I get compromised? And pretty much my saying today, and for probably the past couple of years, is firewalls and antivirus is not enough anymore. You've got to take a little bit more steps, and that's why where second generation antivirus comes in, where you've got antivirus, anti-malware, anti-ransomware. And a lot of you guys might have heard of ransomware on TV and commercials and stuff. But what ransomware does is a type of virus, but the antivirus system's not going to pick up. So the ransomware will, and it can come from email, a website, and it downloads on your machine. It spreads across your machine or any shared drives that you have connected to. So if you're in a business, it's going to compromise that computer and maybe your Z drive, if you want to, or your file system, where all your business files reside at, your file server, I guess you would say. And what it does, it encrypts those files. So Word, PDF, Excel, QuickBooks, pretty much everything besides the operating system, any intellectual data, it encrypts. And you either have to restore from backup, or you have to pay a ransom. And I've seen the ransom as low as $300, but it was several years ago. Now the average ransom is probably about $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And if it hits your company, we actually had a company call us in DC and said, I got hit with, it was a Friday. They got hit with the ransomware on a Friday. They called us on a Monday and said, hey, can you guys help us? You were referred to us. We got hit with ransomware. What can you do to help us recover the data? Well, the first question was, do you have a backup? Okay, so that's number one. Make sure you have a backup of your laptop, your servers, or whatever the case may be. Even if it's a home computer, make sure it's backed up to the cloud. And in past webinars, we talked about backups. I don't want to dive too far in backups with that. You can go back and watch that webinar. But and so that's the first thing. The second thing is we can look on the FBI website and see if they have a decryption key that particular virus string has a key that the FBI has already decrypted. And if that's not there, then the next thing is you have to pay the ransom. And you're not going to negotiate it's like you don't negotiate with terrorists. They're not going to negotiate with you. Now, if it's a large amount, you have a little bit of a wiggle room to negotiate. But if it's $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, they're not going to negotiate with you. And it will double. So if it starts out $10,000, usually it's 24, 48 hours. You have that time to pay it. If not, it will double and it'll go up to 20,000. And then it will double ever so many days until you pay it or you don't pay it. And so you actually, and they're great. You can actually chat with them. They actually, some of them will send you a survey at the end of how well they did. So they have great customer service skills. It's the hackers of the world for you. And when you do pay, a lot of questions we get is, are they going to return my data? If I pay them, are they going to give me my data back? And I will say there's actually a website we can go to and tell you this particular hacker and this particular strand, the percentage of people that they paid and they got their data back. And most of them you're going to see 100%, because that's the thing. They're in the business of locking you out of your data and then getting that data back. And getting you to pay for that data back. If they don't return, they get the money and they don't return the data, it's sort of getting a bad review as a business, right? People are not going to do business with you. So people are not going to stop, they're going to stop paying them. So they will return your data after you pay. Now, what's the crazy part is when you do have to pay, if a ransomware attack happens, if you do have to pay for that, you have to take cash, usually to a Bitcoin ATM, stick. And I actually had that situation that I told you about. They got hit with a $30,000, a $10,000, and a $15,000 ransom. Same strand, but three different machines got hit with it at the same time. They had to pay all three ransoms, and literally we took cash, put in a Bitcoin ATM, and there are very few. And some of my friends in New Bern, North Carolina, that's on and areas, you're not going to have a Bitcoin ATM. But major metropolitan cities, you'll have one. You stick the cash in a Bitcoin ATM, you get a code, you go back, you put that code in there, and pretty much that transfers the money to them with that code. And so that's how a Bitcoin today is about $9,000 to $10,000 is what you would pay for a Bitcoin. So just to give you guys an idea of that. So that's how that works. It's a headache. So making sure that you have the proper second generation antivirus on your machines, and also a backup as a fail-safe. So what, we use Cylance, and which has antivirus, anti-malware, anti-ransomware, which is considered a second generation antivirus. So Eric, can you explain to people the difference between a regular virus and how a ransomware virus works?
So a regular virus is usually not monetary, kind of based when it comes to getting onto your computer. It's more informational. They're stealing information. Sometimes it's just out there to screw up your computer. Whereas ransomware it wants to make it so you have to pay them to get back into your information. And the dangerous part about that, when you're a home user, it's dangerous enough to have banking information or something like that, your documents locked up and you have to pay them. But when you're on a network that has 10 to 15 to 20 other computers, and it can just crawl across all the networks, now you have 20 of those that are locked down that you have to pay for. So virus is usually informational based, whereas ransomware, it holds it hostage. I mean, you got to pay a ransom to get it back. And so viruses can be called kind of quarantine. Those programs, those files can be deleted, moved around, whereas ransomware it encrypts the data.
Yep. And a lot of people ask, well, you've got Cylance on, and we've had, knock on wood, and I'll say this and I'll get a phone call after this, is with Cylance, I don't think we've had a client that has taken all our advisement and security, get hit with ransomware, and I think in 3 years. And that's because as long as they're taking our advice, not just from antivirus, but for all the aspects of security. I've got a document that we can put on, and Logan, make sure to put this on there. There's 15 ways to protect yourself against a virus attack or a hacker. And there's more than just antivirus or having a firewall in place that helps protect you. And a lot of people don't understand today that, they're so used to like, oh, I've got antivirus and a firewall. What else do I need? Well, there's plenty. Two-factor authentication, but the number one issue that you have as a business owner is your employees. It's really employee training, and one of the 15 ways is employee training. Is making sure and I know training takes a lot of time away from actually getting work done and making money. But the thing is, if those employees are not properly trained when it comes to viruses and issues and making sure they're not clicking on phishing emails and where it's really help yourself type situation. Have your employees go through a training to help protect your company and get them knowledgeable in that. So Eric, anything that you would, from an engineer, that you see that you hear about, or any recommendation for home use or business use do you have?
Just like you said, the basically the body that sits between the keyboard and the chair is the first line of defense against any malware, virus, phishing attempt. Just to keep yourself trained and kind of stay up to date, just by going through these little quick 2-minute videos, kind of understanding just how it is out there, how to recognize fake emails, just that type of thing is the biggest, I think, takeaway from. There's all different types of antivirus software that all kind of do the same thing. Cylance is kind of like the front runner of the next gen, but even still, if you have an untrained employee that it was going to click on any email, it's gonna get compromised. And so the biggest takeaway is the training and kind of keeping yourself and your employees up to date of just the basics.
Cool. Well, Eric, this is your 30-day interview. You've passed.
Okay.
He did not know that he was getting on this webinar until this morning. So
about an hour.
Yeah, about an hour ago, actually. So thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So I'm going to go to Friday, talk about Friday's webinar. Again, I don't see any questions in either place. Please ask questions to educate yourself if you have any concerns. But we're going to be talking about SD-WAN and what that is, and covering that. So please stay tuned for Friday's webinar on that. We've got a special guest, Iris. She's going to be, she's sort of a business coach that helps you deal with a situation sort of like the COVID-19, and you're going to have employees stressed, and so she coaches on how to breathe and through your experiences and the pressure that's on business owners and even employees, because now a lot of companies is laid off, so you've got more employees doing more things, and then you've got people sitting at home that need a job. So she helps you sort of learn how to breathe through the situation. I'll let her explain more in detail of that on Friday. Thank you so much for being on. Just to recap on the free services that we're offering, we're giving away a big green egg. This campaign ends May 30th. And if you have a referral, a business that you would like to refer to us, fill that out, and you'll be entering in a drawing for the big green egg. Also, for all our clients, if you have employees working from home using personal computers and you would like to make sure that your business is protected when they access your data, we're offering free home monitoring, antivirus, and backups for their home computers. And then also, if new clients sign up with us, if you're a person that doesn't know anything about Vector and you would like to be interested in coming and becoming a client with us, we're giving 60 days of service, the first 60 days free for you, if anyone's interested in that. If you have any questions, my name is Will Nobles, and my email address is wnobles@vectorchoice.com, and you can contact us at 678-701-0212. We do business all over the place. We have offices in North Carolina, DC, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Atlanta, Georgia. So we can help you no matter where you're at, and we can help you out. thank you so much. Like I mentioned earlier, Georgia, I think Friday they're allowing barbershops and different places open on Fridays, gyms, and then I think on Monday they are opening up restaurants again. But still, my personal opinion is I think it's a little too soon. But I know everybody was ready to get back to business and back to working out and actually eating out. I'm actually one of them. But please remember, when you do go out, please stay safe. Try to stay at home as much as possible. Keep your family healthy, and God bless, and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.